Hey, yo, Josh, let me get a little bit of reverb. Yeah. J. Will. Yeah, I'm about that lifestyle. I talk green work, repping it all over. It's right on the t-shirt. Man for a lifetime. Yeah, that's a long path. Figure I would show some love right on the podcast. Turn this up loud and make sure you don't do nothing else. Cause if you're listening to us, then you're improving your health. My name is J. Will. Welcome to the show, yeah. Wrestle, flow, 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 yeah.
I've been waiting a long time to say this. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Wrestling Reverb, episode 107. And it's different. We're on YouTube, Kev. We're in a new space.
This is crazy, man. I can't believe we're back. The band is back together. You know, it's like the climax to every great movie ever. You know, they go their separate ways, but they always come back together.
Yeah, it's so crazy. We've talked once on are we recording yet? Was that last month before? I don't know.
I was actually thinking about that earlier. I think it was last month, but I don't know. Time's a blur right now, so.
Time is it's still crazy so we ended on August 29th, I believe, last year, and we're still in a pandemic. Time is still kind of moving at a fast but slow pace. The world's still probably more crazy than it was in August. Whether that's pandemic wise, whether that's politically, there's a lot happening in the world. So I don't know. It was just, the moment I stopped Reverb, Kev, I was like, I miss this, but I can't commit to it, but I want it back, but I don't know what to do here. And then my wheels started shifting. It was after our chat on Are We Recording Yet? I'm like, I miss talking to Kevin every week. I miss talking about wrestling all the time, because talking about wrestling is just it's a weird release. I've been through so many things with wrestling in the last few months. I thought I was done with it. I stepped away. I come back. I love it again. I don't really know where I'm at, but it just felt right. It was like, okay, new year, new me, you know, everyone does. And it's just time to bring it back, but no podcast. I didn't want to do a podcast kind of thing. I wanted to make it exclusive to here on YouTube. And now we got visuals. You've seen the intro at the start of the show. You've seen all my promos that I've been doing all over Twitter. We're stepping into a new space, Kevin. I feel it's a nice little area to kind of pop in and out.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. You know, it's cool. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think people are going to be excited to see our handsome faces for sure. And that intro, we talked about it before we started recording. How crazy good is that intro? It blows my mind. But yeah, I'm with you, man. When we chatted last month or the month before, you know, it woke something in me. You know, that spark sort of clicked, and I'm really glad we're doing this. I'm really glad to be back in the saddle.
Me too. Shout out to Sid at Crypto. I'll leave his Twitch in the description. He made that intro for me. He's been doing a lot of my highlights. He's kind of my go-to guy when it comes to anything video editing at the moment, or just video producing, because he's just really good at it. So it's like, why settle for something less than really good? That's how I'm kind of going. Everyone knows how I am with content. I like to put out stuff that I'm proud to put out, and he helps me, and hey, I'm here for it. So shout out to him. But that sentence at the beginning of the show, the what is up, everyone, the way I say it, every single reverb that we ever had, well, for the most part, I've been waiting to say that sentence for so long. We're going to talk a lot of things here. It's going to be a pretty action-packed hour or so, or however long this goes for. But if this is premiering on YouTube, so I'm sure I'll be in the chat at the time of this goes live. Kevin might be in there as well. But if you are here, say hello in the chat. We'll try and type back to you. But if we aren't, you're probably watching on YouTube at some point, whenever it suits you. That's the beauty of YouTube, is you just click it whenever you want to watch it. You can. It's here forever. So welcome in. If this is your first time here on Wrestling Reverb, I am Josh. You can see my Twitter handle below me here at Josh Robinson 00. This is Kevin. We are on two different sides of the world. If you haven't followed us by now, now's a good time. If you've clicked on us to YouTube and you're like, who are these people? Give us a follow follow on Twitter. Both of our names are on the screen as you see. But Kevin, before we get into any wrestling, it'd be kind of weird to not at least catch up a little bit here, because for those who didn't see our Ari recording it conversation, you can find it here on my YouTube channel. But if those that haven't, we've both been kind of in a weird zone with wrestling. We've come back around full circle now, and we're kind of stepping right back into it. But we both kind of stepped away in a sense. I mean, you more so than I. Mine lasted about a week before I was like, I need to go back into wrestling. But I know you've kind of really scaled back on what you're watching. But for those who haven't seen anything from you since our last Reverb episode, what's been going on in the life of Kevin?
Yeah, so a big reason for, sort of scaling back was just my work schedule, man. Being a reporter in America at this time is a time commitment, especially if you're like me. I live in Pennsylvania. For those of you who are American watching or you're familiar, Pennsylvania was a very hotly contested state in this past year's presidential election. And there are all these sorts of crazy things going on. People are fighting, people are alleging fraud, all sorts of things. And I've been just so busy, and it was just burning me out. I just didn't have the time to really watch wrestling as much as I used to. I used to watch Raw every week, SmackDown every week, NXT every week, pay-per-views whenever. Then I would try to watch some of the other brands, some of the other companies when I could get my my eyes on them. I had to scale it back. Just really couldn't commit to watching that much. And, and we also we mentioned this when we talked last, but I wasn't, really vibing with wrestling the way I was, the way I've always had it. Part of that is, just the pandemic and everything. And that's probably the big part of it, honestly, is, no crowds, everything was a little different, it took me a while to get used to it, and I just wasn't vibing with it. But, it's wrestling's been a part of me for so long.
It's a drug.
Impossible.
It's a drug.
Yeah, right. It is. It's impossible to stay away. I can't quit. I get that scratch in my arms. I get that twitch in my neck.
Yeah.
So yeah, the last month or 2 months, definitely since we talked last, I've been easing back in. I watched NXT tonight. First time I watched NXT in, God, I don't even know how long. So long.
You were even scaling back when we were, in the last few weeks of Reverb, the last month of Reverb. We both were.
Yeah.
We were not keeping up with as much.
Yeah, and again, part of that, was work. I couldn't, I'm at work. I work night shift or evening shift here. So I don't get to watch Raw. I don't get to watch Raw. I don't usually get to watch SmackDown. I don't get to watch NXT or AEW or whatever I choose on Wednesday nights. So yeah, but a big part of it was honestly, not part of my plan, but I knew I had to do it. And it's fine. I grew just accustomed to not watching it. And for a while I thought, it's okay. I don't need to watch. It's whatever. I'll keep track. And then I wasn't really keeping track. And then I was like, shit, I wish I was. So we bottomed out and we're coming back up.
Yeah, it's crazy how much wrestling there is. I've said this before, but there's so much wrestling that it's just kind of overwhelming that you're like, I'm not going to watch any of it. I just can't. I can't at the moment.
Yeah, it is because you feel like you miss. Once you feel like you miss something and you start to fall behind, it is, man. It gets like crazy. It gets a little panicky. It's impossible
to catch up. It's just, but yeah, you're right. Pandemic has made it hard. I know that AEW does like socially distanced crowds, and NXT, of course, have the Capitol Wrestling Center with the virtual fans plus the friends of WWE or the families of WWE talent are in the crowd.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
And then you've got the Thunderdome, which WWE does, which does help. By the way, if for anyone that is still a bit iffy on watching wrestling and you haven't watched since, no fans in the PC, the Thunderdome does help. It does make a big difference. The aesthetic, at least, the sound's a little bit whatever. Once you get used to it, you get used to it, but it does help. And AEW stuff, there is ways around it. I cannot stress this enough. I cannot wait until this pandemic is at least in a point where it's controlled, where we can have crowds back, because oh man, wrestling is a sport, if you want to call it that. I like how I can do this now because we're on camera and it's like, oh, I can do this and you can actually see me.
Yeah, you don't have to like hope people get it that you're implying it. Yeah.
Wrestling as a sport, if you want to class it as a sport, has suffered the most because it relies on the crowd the most with anything. So it's interesting to to watch wrestling in this time. But I'm used to it at this point. I'm pretty up to date with pretty much, well, at least the stuff that I want to watch, I'm up to date with. I'm not stressing if I miss a show anymore. I'm kind of keeping up with it, but I'm definitely watching all the pay-per-views. I'm definitely keeping tabs on everything and stuff like that, because the reason, a big part of me that I wanted to bring Reverb back, in a sense, I know we're going to be doing these kind of as specials. They're not going to be every week, but we're going to do them when it feels necessary to do so. I'm not going to do something if it doesn't, just to do it. If that means it's once a month, that means it's once a month. It could be 4 times a month. I really don't know. It's just going to be whenever we kind of both can get together, both have watched enough wrestling to kind of comment, and there's enough going on to talk about. But the reason I want to bring this back now and not later in the year was it's Rumble season. We're gearing up for Mania season. It doesn't just mean WWE's hot. It means everything wrestling-wise is just kind of picking up. There's a lot happening, and these are the probably best months of wrestling from January to April, in a sense, because there's just so much happening. I know, again, this year's going to look a little different. We're still in a pandemic, but it's still Mania time, and I guess we've at least found ways to do shows around in the kind of parameters that is COVID. So, it's a cool time to be a wrestling fan. I think we've both stated this many times, Kevin. The Rumble is our most favorite pay-per-view of the year. There's nothing better than the Rumble to me. The 2 Rumble matches, I've said this before so many times, but even a shit Rumble is still a Rumble. I'd still rather watch a shit Rumble than pretty much anything else all year. I love Mania. It's a great day to watch wrestling, but I mean, the Rumble is the Rumble. And we get 2 of them. I know that's like the kind of a newer thing with the last few years with the women's Royal Rumbles, but we get 60 entrants over 2 Rumbles now. It's pretty damn cool.
It really is, honestly. Yeah. And you said it yourself. I could think of like the very worst Royal Rumble match, whatever, pick and choose whatever one you think is the worst. And it's still like one of the best times of the year.
Yep.
I love it. And there's no such thing as a bad Rumble, honestly, because it's just such a unique time. You get new returning superstars, old-time superstars, new superstars, and with the addition of the women's Rumble in recent years, which has always been good. Like, we haven't had them. I don't think we've had a bad women's Rumble yet.
All been good.
I especially like that first one was so good. But
I've watched last year's a lot.
Last year's was great. Bianca Belair.
Yeah, she's the one that I think of as well.
It's just this is the best time of year, and then once you get through the Rumble, you're on the road to WrestleMania. They love to throw that phrase out there, but it's true. Everything from the Rumble to Mania is all it's all gearing up for the biggest show.
All systems are going, isn't it? It's just a constant go.
Everything is just in. Everything's tightened, everything's like tweaked and like ready, and everyone's performing at the highest peak of their abilities now because they know how important this time of year is.
Yeah, it's a cool time of year to be involved in wrestling. So I think it's a cool time of the year to bring this back, in a sense. So I'm excited, but we're going to talk a lot about the Rumble today. You're going to hear a lot about the Rumble because it is Rumble season. And now I know they're they don't really do qualifying matches anymore. Let's be honest. They haven't done it in years, but we've got people declaring Rumble entrants here and there, but we kind of can get a sense of who's going to be in the Rumble. I guess this is going to be a topic of discussion for every wrestling podcast, but I guess it's the age-old question. Who will win this year's Royal Rumble matches? Now, I would like to give both of us, we'll both go through our 2 kind of picks that we think are going to win each Rumble. And then let's throw in a dark horse, kind of like one that you could be like, okay, we can see this happening, or like a little bit of a left of field choice. So let's start with the men's Royal Rumble, because I've got a few things to add with the women's Royal Rumble, because everyone knows I love women's wrestling, so I'll probably talk about it more. But the men's Royal Rumble matches, Kevin, we'll start with you. Who's your winner? Who's your predicted winner, I should say, and who's a bit of a dark horse for you in the men's Royal Rumble?
Oh man, it's a pretty wide open field this year, right?
On both sides.
Yeah, I'm definitely on both sides, because it's and I think one of the quiet little benefits of not really having watched too carefully in the last couple of months is that without having like the really sharp eye on the storylines, it really is like, I don't know who's gonna win. I don't know.
You can't overanalyze it. You can't overanalyze it. Be like, oh, this person's in a program with this person. You can just go, well, I think this person.
There's no overthinking. You go with your gut. You go with who what you think. And so in that estimation, I'm gonna go with Daniel Bryan as my winner of the Royal Rumble. I see he's one of the first early entrants first people to declare their entrance into the Rumble. He's someone that you fit him in with either of the champions right now, and I think it's money. Especially Bryan and Reigns. Like, we've seen it before, and it's always been good. And the story would be so good with how hot Reigns is now.
And let's just say that Roman Reigns is, I will say this loud and proud, Roman Reigns is the top of the industry, and it ain't close to me. No one can touch him. He is turning everything he does to gold.
Yeah, Roman Reigns he's operating on a plane right now on a level that is just untouchable. I know, no disrespect to anybody else, but like he is 1A in the world right now, not just in WWE. You're far fetched to find anybody who's on his level right now.
Just a
star.
I think Daniel Bryan, he's just a star. That dude is a star. I can't get over how good he is. Yeah.
His presence, dude. Every time he steps onto your screen, you just he's a champion.
You're just like eyes glued, and you're just like, yep. It doesn't seem like it's a placed spot. He's there. And it's funny what you can do when you can just let people run wild, and you can tell that Roman is heavily involved in what he's doing. And of course, it does help when you have Paul Heyman by your side, who is arguably one of the greatest minds in the business, whether you want to call him crazy, whether you want to call him a liar, whether you want to call him all of these things that many people have come out and said. He is a wrestling mind that you want near you, for better or for worse. So, and then it's so funny not funny. Funny is a lack of a better term. Funny to me that Roman Reigns has single-handedly plucked someone like Jey Uso and made him a person that we go, damn, he's really fucking good, and he can fit in a story like this. And it just money. That's all I see when I look at Roman. It's just a big, huge dollar sign.
It is. The work that Roman and Jay and Paul and everyone involved in that story, the work they're putting in right now is just so inspired, so excellent on every level.
He's raised Owens' stock.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone that's stepped into that story from the minute Roman Reigns came back was that SummerSlam
The very last show we covered was SummerSlam, and that was when he come back, and a lot's changed since then to now.
Yeah, the minute he stepped back into the ring, everything he's done has been A+. Everything he's done has been excellent. And you're right, he's elevated people. He's elevated Owens. He's elevated Jey Uso. You have Adam Pearce in a match at the Royal Rumble with him, and I guarantee it's going to be pretty fun. And I guarantee that, Adam Pearce is, no slouch in the ring.
Dude, imagine a live crowd for that match. They'd be eating it up. It up.
I know it's sad. It's sad. We'll get there. We'll get back there someday. Yeah, we will.
But not to interrupt your pick. You're saying Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan. That's my pick.
I could. It's weird to say that Bryan hasn't won a Rumble because of those years where everyone wanted him to win the Rumble. Is it too late? Is this something that is Mania? I think so. I think Bryan and Roman, depending on, I think Bryan would go with Roman. I think there's a lot of layers that you go in with this story, and you could probably get Bryan back to the point of WrestleMania 30. Maybe not to that extent, but at least in a sense of like, he's an underdog in this. He's got to overcome all this. Could you imagine that moment if Bryan was to beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? That's pretty damn cool. I mean, that to me screams Mania. That's a Mania moment. Yeah. But if you were to throw in a dark horse for the men's Royal Rumble, who would you go with?
Oh man, this is probably the more fun question, honestly, because there's a lot of dudes. There's a lot of dudes that you look at them and you don't put them in the mix. You don't put them in the main event. But that's what the Royal Rumble's for, right? Isn't it? For you launch somebody into the stratosphere?
Yes.
Oh, there's so many names. I know a very popular one, and it's become so popular that I don't even know if I'd call him a dark horse at this point. But Big E. Big E would be somebody that, he's got all this goodwill. He's been so good for so long, especially recently, since sort of going his own way, since they moved Kofi and Woods to Raw. He's been so excellent. He really has been.
Yeah.
He's the Intercontinental Champion now, which is probably why I don't think he would win. I feel like they wouldn't have put that belt on him right
Yeah.
now. But you never know. Yeah, that's the thing about
Champion
wrestling.
versus
You never know.
champion at Mania. I mean,
Yeah, I don't
it's a
know.
sight to see.
I would love to see it, and I think all three of those New Day guys deserve that run like Kofi got 2 years ago. That was such an inspired bit of work, and I think Big E, you could do the same exact thing.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. It's actually it's weird to have all these people. I actually agree with you with Daniel Bryan. I think Daniel Bryan's going to win the Royal Rumble. I think they've planted so many seeds that it's almost like this has to be Mania. There's nothing bigger, because I don't think Roman and Rock are going to work at Mania. I just don't think Rock's going to come out of retirement or whatever you want to call it with no crowd, potentially. And also in this time where he's filming movies, he's walking into an environment where I just don't see it happening. And I don't see anything like Goldberg, which we'll touch on in a minute, and stuff like that. I just don't see it happening. Bryan is my pick to win as well. I've been kind of thinking it the last few weeks and be like, I think Bryan's going to do this. For my dark horse though, I'm picking Jey Uso.
That would be a good
story,
wouldn't
full
it?
circle it from all of this to come back. Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, we know that what they've done at Clash of Champions and Hell in a Cell was really good. And the beauty of WWE is that there's so many potential kind of, what's the word? There's so many potential main events.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of just go with anything here. I'll blame that on recording issues. There was someone at my door. That's why you're seeing this weird cut in between of where I was at. But of course, someone rocked up at my house for the first time in, it feels like 30 years since someone's ever rocked up at my house. But I was talking about Jey Uso and the fact that I think he's my dark horse, because that kind of full circle kind of moment to come back to things, I just think would be kind of cool. We know what they can do. I was saying about the fact that WWE has the potential with so many main events. There's a potential of 4 different title matches that could go on last when you really think about it, the 2 women's titles and the 2 world titles. So this doesn't necessarily have to be the quote unquote main event. I mean main event by going on last. It's one of the main events. There's no real one main event in WWE anymore. There's multiple main events. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool to have that many options. But yeah, Jey Uso is my dark horse for this one.
Yeah, I like that. I think that would be, it's the story's built in. Sometimes the easiest solution is the one you go with, sometimes it's, you don't want to overthink it.
Yeah. I'm into it though. Rumbles are fun. And what I like most about both of these Rumbles, we'll talk about the women in a minute, is that it feels like a few years since it's been this wide open. There's always been that kind of few at the top that you're like, okay, it's going to be one of these guys, but you could pretty much throw out a lot of names here and be like, okay, they could work. And I know there's potential that, we don't really know what's going to go on with the Royal Rumble because, Drew McIntyre has COVID at the moment. He did get a positive test for COVID. At this stage, he should be fine by the Rumble. He's not showing any symptoms or anything like that, he said on Raw, but he has COVID, but I guess it's 14 days and you see if you cleared it. The Rumble's still 3 weeks away. So there should be enough time, but he is fighting Goldberg. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Drew's going to easily win. We said that about The Fiend last year and Goldberg won.
You really cannot count Bill Goldberg out, which is so weird. The
only title he's never won, by the way, of all the world championships is the WWE title.
That's true.
He's never held it. So it's like, that's lingering. I would like to think that Drew's going to win, and it'll be a nice win for Drew to I think Drew's just a little step behind of where he needs to be. He just needs something to just get him over this bump. And I think Goldberg could be the one, but again, don't count Goldberg out of this, but nonetheless, there's a lot of choices for who wins because they can go at this stage to Roman or to Drew. So that's why I kind of like about the men's Rumble. Same with the women. At this stage, it's Sasha Banks and Asuka who are holding the SmackDown and Raw Women's Championships respectively. Sasha's had a great few months in the time that we've been off of Reverb. There's a lot happened between Bailey turning on Banks. They're having their incredible Hell in a Cell match. Everything that's been kind of happening with Banks is finally getting a run with a singles women's championship is pretty cool to see. But women's Royal Rumble, Kevin, who's your pick? Who's your dark horse? What's all your thoughts?
All right, so my pick my pick only materialized recently because this person only returned to the WWE recently. But now that she's returned, I can't see any other way but to do this. Sonya Deville is my pick for the Rumble.
She's kind of come back in this like authority figure role. I don't really know exactly nobody really knows the exact extent of what it is, but it seems to be like maybe in charge of the women's division, or maybe she's going to take over Adam Pearce's job because he's going to get destroyed by Roman. Maybe Sonya will step into that role, which is a great role for her, by the way. She's an incredible speaker. But Sonya, I wouldn't be mad at all.
I just think that like she's, before she had to step away, they were heating her up in a big way. They're heating her and Mandy up in a big way with that feud. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, real life events had to intercede, and Sonya had to step away and take time for herself. And she's back, and first off, just glad that she's back, in the WWE. Glad that everything seems to have worked itself out. Fuck that guy for breaking into her house. That was terrible. I'm glad that everything seems to be cool first and foremost. But now that she's back and you have her, use her. Put her to work. That's
that suit game, by the way. Woo, she can rock a suit. I'll sadly say this. I admit this. She rocks a suit better than we could, Kevin. Much better.
Oh my god. I don't even want to wear suits anymore because
she just looks so good in them.
She does. She really does. She really does. But like, she's gonna look better with the SmackDown Women's Championship around her waist, man. I don't know if she would go on to win, but I think strike while the iron's hot now. I think you just go and heat her up, and even if she doesn't win at Mania, you give her a Mania match, and then she's made for life. I think if you have that championship match at Mania, I think you're set. I think you're on that level for life. Mm-hmm. So that's my pick. Sonya. My dark horse. I don't even know if I'd call her a dark horse, but for the sake of not having to switch up my argument in a second, I'm gonna say it. Ria Ripley. I think we just saw her last week going through the stage on NXT, and just a hellacious match, one of the best I've seen in quite some time. And then it kind of feels like what's left in NXT for her. Mm-hmm. So kind of makes sense. I feel like she'd probably be a pretty popular choice to debut in the Rumble, or to come up to the main roster. Why not just go all the way? Why not just have her win the match? She can go on and have a great match with either Asuka or Sasha. There's plenty of built-in feuds.
Charlotte Flair.
I know, she's unfinished business with the Queen, and the Queen is back now. All the pieces are falling into place. I think Rhea would be an interesting choice. And if she wins, if she gets the championship, Charlotte Flair. And then everyone falls in line.
Get that win that everyone thought that Rhea was going to get last year of her and Charlotte. By the way, still, even with no fans, a fantastic match they had at WrestleMania last year. Imagine what the Thunderdome could do, or whatever we get at Mania. Who knows? We might get fans in some
That was probably like the best like in-ring, not like weird cinematic match of Mania. Both nights of Mania, honestly, that was so good, and it went on like that was the opening match, or one of the earlier matches of
night. It was the opening. No, didn't it open night 2, I believe.
Okay, night 2, yeah. But that's think about all the matches we had on over both those shows, but that match kicked so much ass, it really did. And and say what you will about the result and what happened afterwards, but like that was a great match. Rhea could go on the highest stage. That's so important. I think we overlooked that. Just the fact that she's out there having great Mania matches at such a young age is insane. It's insane. And the only place she can go is up.
Yeah, it's Rhea is still very hot property, and still someone that can definitely step onto another level. I don't understand when people say like Ria has dropped. Not everyone can be in the main storyline all the time. They would get burnt out. I think that's everyone's issue, not mine. Their issue with Charlotte Flair is that she's consistently in the main event picture.
You can't
You
have it both
complain
ways.
that you can't have your cake and eat it too. You're either in it or you've got to float in between, and that's what a great performer does. Ria is that great performer. Two great picks for me. For the winner of the women's Royal Rumble is Bianca Belair. I think Bianca Sasha is where we're going for WrestleMania. I think that Bianca is someone that just has all the tools, and I just don't think, in my personal opinion, there's anyone riper for that opportunity right now than Bianca. I just think she has it. I think we could see a similar effort from last year where she starts at number 1 and she goes all the way to number 30. We haven't had that in the Women's Royal Rumble yet. We haven't had that kind of dominance that we need to see from someone. I think it's Bianca's year. Bianca Sasha at WrestleMania, I mean, I wouldn't complain. I don't think anyone.
Absolutely not.
Could you imagine the work that they would do?
Just the clash of styles, the power, Sasha's speed, Sasha's technical prowess, it would be so good.
For the amount of time that Belair has been wrestling, I personally don't think I've seen too many people that have adapted to the skill of professional wrestling better than Bianca Belair.
Yeah, she was pretty prominently used from the minute she stepped onto TV. There was really not that much in the way of maybe working through some lower level talent. She was right in the center of things immediately, and she excelled. She was so good. Those matches she had with Shayna at Takeover and just everything, last year's Rumble, some of the things she's done since the Rumble, really great stuff. And I'm not going to complain about a Bianca Sasha match.
No, not at all. My dark horse is a little left of field. Hear me out. Just because it's someone who is arguably one of the most talked about women in the company, Alexa Bliss. My Alexa's turning on. Shut up, Alexa. Alexa, shut up.
That's so nice.
Oh, okay, whatever.
That's so
Alexa, please stop. Cheers. All right, so Bliss is my pick here because, what we've seen on Raw this past week with the fireball, it's very easy for people to complain about that kind of stuff. Oh, it's too this. Dude, we watched the person shoot lightning out of his hands for years and we didn't have a problem with it. I have no problem with them using fire and all of this stuff in the context of what this is with The Fiend and with Bliss and with Randy. It works. Wrestling is silly. Wrestling is far-fetched. To be honest, I'm more of it. Give me more of it within that story. Not in every storyline. I'm not crazy. But in this storyline, it works. Let's just keep doing it. Randy set Amanda on fire. Bliss poured herself in gasoline. She threw a fireball at him. To me, I know that the only reason she's a dark horse for me is because I don't think Bliss necessarily needs to be in the title picture. However, there is an argument that you put the hottest person in the main storyline. And we've seen Bliss at the top before. I wouldn't be at all objected to Bliss being in that spot again. And in this character, which she has been absolutely smashing in. She has just been so good in. She has excelled in this role, especially with someone who is really kind of put in this bubble by a lot of people, fans and whatever alike, of being a little one-dimensional. She can play one role and that's it. She's nothing like the character she was before. She's throwing fire. She's playing this psychotic, Harley Quinn-esque kind of character with her partner, The Fiend. I like her. There's no love between them. It's just this weird lust kind of friendship thing. Orton is fantastic in this, but Alexa Bliss is my dark horse just because it'd be hot. I don't mean that in a punny way. Talking to me again. Alexa, stop. Man, it's the worst having one of those when you've got wrestling. I tell you that. I'm just gonna leave that in here, by the way. I'm not gonna edit that out. But yeah, Bliss is mine. I'm just gonna say Bliss from now on, but Bliss is mine.
I like
Yeah.
that. I think Bliss has excelled in every role she's had to take on
Mm.
since coming to NXT. And when she stepped up and she started managing Murphy and Blake, she was excellent. She came out to the main roster. She was people were like always complaining about how they were heating her up so quick. She's got so many title reigns already between SmackDown and Raw, but she's been so good for so long. And yeah, this character, this current iteration of Alexa Bliss is nothing. It's like nothing I've ever seen. It's such a unique character. And to be honest, and maybe I'm gassing her up a little bit. The whole Fiend storyline, I think, really stepped up a notch when she stepped into that role. I think that story with the Fiend was, it was fine. It was good. I think maybe it seemed like it was running its course a little bit. And then once you bring Bliss into the picture, it opens up so many doors, and we've seen so many different things. And yeah, wrestling is so silly that like if this is where if her shooting fire out of her hands was like, well, that's where you draw the line, but like you let everything else happen, then come on.
Vince McMahon exploded in a limo and was back in like 2 weeks later.
Like literally 2 weeks later. Like it's wrestling. It's supposed to be silly, and I love it. That's what I love. I think that'd be great, especially if she's like if she is still this character, but she's in the title picture. You bring the women's championship into this mix. I think that's really
Could
really
you see it'd be cool to have like a Fiend Bliss kind of title run together. I think that'd be something different, and I think it would be something that we haven't seen before. So I kind of like the dynamic of that. But Rumbles, nonetheless, to me, there's not a lot of wrong choices that you can go with this year because of who's on top, both in the men's and women's divisions. Who's the champions? It's like I would say, I'll say this: those 4 top champions, the Raw and SmackDown Women's and the Universal and WWE, are 4 of the most versatile talents that WWE has, that they can nearly work with anyone. Asuka can work with anyone.
4 superstars they're 4 superstars that seem to have chemistry with just about everybody, that that rarely work bad matches. I can't think of between the 4 of them, between Drew, Roman, Sasha, and Asuka. Like, when's the last time you saw one of them have a match and you were like, well, that sucks? It's been a while.
I can't remember. Drew's had an incredible year. You think?
Yeah, Drew just since coming back to WWE after he stepped away, he worked in Europe, did a lot of the indie stuff. When he came back to NXT, just started getting hot. And then even working through some of the lesser stories since he came back up to Raw, he was always great. He's just such a presence. I'll never stop being amazed at like the way he transformed his look from 3MB Drew to like the scariest looking dude you've ever seen, Drew.
Yeah. It's a cool, now that a lot, we have to say a lot can change in between now and next week, for example. So a lot can change in the course, and they might not be our champions by the time we get to Mania, but going off of what we can say and what we know, they are our 4 champions right now. And yeah, Banks, Asuka, Drew, and Roman, 4 people had probably the biggest 2020s in the company.
Yeah.
I would say that. So going in Mania, whew.
Roman did it in like 4 months too. That's the craziest thing.
So did, to a certain degree, Sasha. I know she had the run with Bayley, which was fantastic. But even since the turn from Bayley, Sasha stepped it up in 4 months as well as Roman. You probably arguably got the 2 best talents in the company on SmackDown in Banks and Reigns. I would put Banks above Drew, maybe just slightly, but I think I would. I really do think I would.
I would. I certainly would. I think and I think we talked about this in our last couple of episodes over the summer. Sasha, it was one of the, is likely, Sasha, Bayley, Asuka, like are we're probably the MVPs of that whole, the pandemic era, which we're still in. So it's not like it's over.
The PC pandemic era anyway.
Yeah. The pre-Thunderdome era, we'll say.
Yeah.
The PC is the best way to say it. Yeah. the women, we carried the show. They still probably carry the show.
They do.
They're still so good, still so good. And yeah, I'd probably put Sasha above Drew. I think Sasha is just an absolute mega star. I think she just
Mandalorian star. We should say Star Wars canon. Sasha
That's
Banks.
true.
Did you watch? You're not a Star Wars. I always forget. You are kind of a Star Wars person.
I am a Star Wars fan, but I have not watched The Mandalorian.
Dickhead. Sasha Banks is a Star Wars actress. That's pretty crazy to say. Our SmackDown Women's Champion was in 2 episodes of The Mandalorian. Pretty cool. WWE should probably use that a little bit more than they do.
Yeah.
They do usually for anything else.
My favorite part about that was like my friends who are like who don't know anything about wrestling, don't know any of the people, what yada yada, this that. But like they're huge Star Wars fans, and they're watching The Mandalorian, and they're seeing Sasha Banks, and that they're responding so well to her character in the show, and like, oh, she's so cool, and they look her up and they want to see what she does. That's what's cool about it.
Gatekeeper fans, they're getting people in. You're getting people into wrestling, so it's a cool thing. But yeah, for really cool champions and stuff like that. Something I did want to talk about as well as the Rumble is you've been watching New Japan. If anything, you've been keeping up with, in a sense, of this time away from wrestling. You've probably kept more eyes on New Japan than anything else, I would say. So I'm not, everyone knows I'm primarily a WWE person, but the floor is yours. What's been going on in the land of New Japan with you, and what have you been keeping up with? How is Wrestle Kingdom both nights and New Year's Dash and all of that? I've seen that all over Twitter. How is everything?
Oh, it's been good. Yeah. So Japan. New Japan obviously took a little bit of a different path during the pandemic. They stopped altogether for a couple of months, and because they were ahead of the curve on things, they were able to restart in June or July. Yeah, I think it was June. And yeah, so I was keeping tabs on all of that, and obviously, one of the things about January is Wrestle Kingdom, and Wrestle Kingdom is just like this insane show. 2 nights now, same as Mania. And I'm not a big fan of 2 nights, but we could talk about that in a minute.
Me either.
But it's so great. Couple of great shows both nights. The main event matches from both nights. You had Kota Ibushi, Tetsuya Naito from night 1, and then Kota Ibushi, Jay White from night 2. Both they're going to be in the match of the year conversation at the end of the year, no matter what. Absolute insanity. Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada as well.
I seen clips of that match. I was like, whoa.
Stellar. They've wrestled in the past, and I knew that was just kind of why I knew it would be that good. But it was a different story this time around. They actually were enemies. I'm not Ospreay as a person. Everyone. I'm not a big fan of Ospreay as a person. I don't think a lot of people are. But the dude could wrestle. That's tough to deny. And Kazuchika Okada is very, very, very much one of the best to ever do it. Even still, even at his age, he's not that old, but he's so good. It was a great 2 nights. New Year's Dash, I actually didn't watch because it's just like sort of setting things up for the future. Not too much consequential stuff happened on there from what I saw. But yeah, no, Wrestle Kingdom, always good. This is my 5th one now. The first one I ever watched, my first ever New Japan show was Wrestle Kingdom 11 in 2017. I had known nothing about it at the time. Me and 2 of my friends just were like, it's only $10 for a subscription. We'll stay up. We'll get some snacks and some drinks, and we'll stay up all night and we'll watch it. And that was the night Okada wrestled Kenny Omega for the first time, and it's probably the best match I've ever seen in my life. So it hooked me. And
it's I kind of kept up on Twitter, seeing what little clips and stuff like that. To me, it was just, I believe both nights I had work, so it was just kind of like, if I don't watch this live, I'm not gonna watch it. Like, I want to kind of experience it. So I just didn't, but I did hear good things about it. I'm kind of glad you're at least keeping yourself involved in wrestling as a little, like, I'm still here, and it's kind of like getting you back into other things at this time of year too is a good thing. But something else I did want to touch on with the Rumble. Rumble, what's the best thing about Rumbles? It's the surprises. They're the best thing. I mean, arguably one of the best moments in wrestling ever happened last year with Edge coming back. So something that we did not think was going to happen, no matter all the rumors, it didn't matter in the world. It was one of the most emotionally great, fantastically everything moments in wrestling I've ever seen. That moment when it said, "You think you know me." Now, we're not going to get that moment again this year. If A, there's not a live crowd, and B, it's just, that's not a moment you can ever replicate. You'll never get that. There's certain moments in wrestling that you just don't get again, and that's one of them. However, surprises are a part of the Rumble. They have to happen in both Rumbles. It's a part of the kind of shtick. It's a part of the gimmick of a Royal Rumble match. If you were to throw in one name that you want to see in the men and women's Royal Rumbles this year, who's your surprise picks for each Rumble?
Okay. Wow. Okay. I'll give a stall for a minute to think. I think we've been spoiled with some really great returns in the last couple of years as well. Now, obviously, Edge, just such an emotional moment. I'll never forget that. Never forget
One of
where
the best
I was.
moments in wrestling ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, just totally, I was shocked. And yeah, like you said, like people, there was some buzz, but he actually shut it down himself. So I figured, well, he won't lie. But it was
Edge.
so good. We got that one. We got Mysterio in 2018, which speaks to my heart.
Yes.
As my favorite wrestler ever. I cried a little bit when he came back. AJ Styles in 2016 making his debut was another fantastic one. I still watch like all of those to this day. I watch every so often, and it's been a lot easier to do this when there's nothing else to do. But this year I've watched a lot of like the reaction videos to Edge's return, like people who film themselves. The joy, the surprise, the shock, some people cry.
I wish I filmed myself for that. Oh,
so do I, honestly. I probably was just stunned. It was just such a sad day, because that was the day Kobe Bryant passed away.
Yeah, I remember waking up and being like, "Oh my God, this is happening today."
Emotions were running high that day, so that was it's like the perfect moment.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to throw out a name for the men and the women, someone I want to see. Sheesh. Okay. I'm gonna start with the. I'm gonna start with the men. All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with the men. We've seen a lot of great ones over the years. Like I said, those three I mentioned. Bubba Ray came back in the Rumble. The Boogeyman we've seen time and time again. Someone I'd like to see. He's a bit of a meme. And I don't know how this would really be received by the majority of people. And, if you're watching this and you want to roast me in the comments, please feel free to do so. Could you imagine if Scott Steiner came back in the Royal Rumble?
Oh my God, of all people, I was not expecting you to say Scott Steiner. All right, hell yeah. Holler if you hear me. I'd be down.
I just, it's hard to really get a genuine surprise anymore. I feel
really
like with the rise of the media, the dirt sheets, and I hate to refer to them as
I
dirt
stay
sheets.
off of that shit Rumble Day. I avoid it like the plague. Like the
best
plague
thing to
that
do.
we're in.
I think that would just be a genuine surprise, and I think people would laugh. The Steiner math jokes would be rampant. Oh yeah,
I'm here for it. it. For me with the men, I think a really cool thing, and you can never say never in wrestling because we've seen Edge come back last year, so don't tell me it can never happen. Christian. I want to see Christian wrestle again. I just want to see it. I love Christian. I'm a Christian guy. He needs to come back with his real Just Close Your Eyes, not the Story of the Year version. I'm talking about the Waterproof Blonde version. It's a much better theme. It's one of the greatest themes in wrestling. Don't at me. I want to see Christian wrestle. And again, don't tell me that it can't happen because Edge come back, Daniel Bryan's come back. So many people have come back. It can happen. You're very protected in a Royal Rumble. I just want to see him come in, hit an unprettier, throw someone out, and then get thrown out. And I'm happy.
Yeah, that would be so poetic too. A year after his best friend, his longtime tag team partner, that would be so cool. Actually, that would be good.
What about the women? Who would you like to see for the women's Rumble?
This one's a little easier. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna happen, but a guy could dream. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who would think this. But could you imagine if AJ Lee came back
Be music to
Could you
my
imagine?
ears.
She was so ahead of her time. She was so good, and we've spoken at length about the role that her and Caitlyn and the Bellas played in sort of bridging eras of women's wrestling. And you know, the Bell, I 100% want to put the Bellas in there. People might not, but you can't leave
Oh,
them
you know,
out.
I'm a Bella Mark. I'm a Bella Mark.
I know who I'm talking to. But yeah, they're so instrumental, so pivotal in getting us to where we are now. It would be silly to just not say that. But yeah, I think AJ Lee would be such an incredible surprise. I don't think she will. I don't think she has any interest. I know she has a lot of different cool things going on outside of wrestling. And, you know, why come back? But I know she loves it.
I've got her book right above me, right over here.
Yeah.
That's AJ's book right there. It's a fantastic read, by the way. She's an incredible, like a really good author. Like,
I'm not surprised. She's you know, I think the best talkers often translate to, you know, the best writers.
Yeah,
They
that's
have,
true.
you know, they know how to use. They have a good command of the English language. It's sort of it's similar, you know.
Yeah.
And she always was one of the best on the mic, and one of the best in the ring too. You know, one of the best we've seen in some time. And sadly, you know, retired a little before I think any of us wanted to see her go.
She retired in a time where it was like that's all she could do. She did everything she could do in
that's true.
The constraints.
It's true. It's true. But that would be the one that gets me. There's a couple others, but like I think AJ Lee would be like number one.
I think for me, there's been a lot of rumors circulating about this person anyway. No, not Eva Marie, as much as I would like to say Eva Marie, is Melina. I don't think Melina is someone that gets enough credit for what she did. I'm watching everyone. If anyone that follows me on Twitter, I have this fucking huge thread of 2007 Raws and 2007 WWE. I'm watching at the moment just because I don't know why not. And Melina is on top. She's women's champion, and I don't think enough people give her credit for actually how good she was. She was a damn fine worker. Real good.
She was a good worker. She had a great heel presence to her. Even
that
you know,
scream, man. Oh, that scream was.
Oh my god. She was. I'll never forget Melina because she was the manager of Eminem, and I literally hated no one more than I hated Eminem.
Yeah. They were doing their job well, I guess. But Melina, that music, I want to hear that music that I want it, and I just want Melina to come in and work because I think that a lot of people, especially in the women's division, slipped through the cracks of the WWE system at the time. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, Melina, Victoria, Michelle McCool, list goes on, of a lot of women that were not shown to their full potential. And even in the constraints of the Divas era, they were still very, very good. And I think Melina is someone that I'd like to see, even if it's just for one night. I'm not fussed, but I just like to hear that music. Come in, do your spots, and get your shit in and get your paycheck. That's what the Rumble's for.
Oh yeah, it's a little tougher with the women's side because because it's such a new concept and because the women's roster is smaller than the men's roster. They have less women contracted than they do men. We saw like a lot. We've already seen a lot of the surprise returns. That first Royal Rumble was very very
yeah, it was great.
It was literally just like oh, Lita, Kelly, Michelle McCool, Trish Stratus, so there's a lot of genuine surprises left, but we haven't seen Layla. I don't think. I think Layla would be a good one too.
Layla, oh my god, yeah, Layla. Victoria is always one that I'm going to go back to because, I mean, come on.
The fact they haven't brought Victoria back yet is actually kind of crazy. I think she's the one. I think she's the name people clamor for most every year around this time.
Victoria, man, I'd love to see Victoria hit a Widow's Peak. My favorite finish in WWE ever. Or in wrestling ever is the Widow's Peak. I love the Widow's Peak. It is how does that not hurt you?
It's a good finish. It is a good finish.
It's a great finish. But I think the only other one that I can really mention, and again, you can't say anything because Edge comeback is Paige.
I thought about that too. Yeah, that's part of you never know anymore, especially similar the neck and back trauma.
And she's so young that her body probably has sprung back. I'm not even kidding when I say this. I'm pretty sure if she wanted to be cleared, she could be. I believe that. I believe in my heart that I think she could be cleared. And you never say never in wrestling. You never say never. But Paige is someone, I think a lot of tears would run down my face if Paige come back just for the circumstances of breaking your neck twice.
yeah, just an unbelievably bad run of luck health-wise for Paige.
Mhm.
That would be such an incredible moment. And yeah, you're right. She's still so young. So if she were healthy, like if she were 100% and able to get back in the ring, someone you could heat right up and put into the title picture. It wouldn't just be like a one-time thing, like the way we've seen with Edge. You know,
Yeah.
he got right back into the mix of things. Had one of the best matches of 2020, the greatest wrestling match ever.
A lot of people give that match a lot of shit. I love that
That
match.
match
I
was
thought it was
so
very
good.
good.
That match was like a good, like classic wrestling match. You know, it had
Just
like
wrestling.
yeah,
It
the
was really
false
good.
finishes, the finishers, you know,
The
going through
atmosphere
like
of it too, the way they did it was really cool. I felt they presented it in an era where it's very, it can come across lackluster a lot. So I thought they did it really well. But yeah, those are I love Rumble season. I could talk about the Rumble, I mean, all day. But we're not going to do that. The only other thing that I want to talk about before we go today is I want to talk about Peyton, Royce, and Billie Kay.
Uh-oh.
And I am going to
Okay.
get some people that are going to probably yell at me for this. Let's talk about Billie for a minute, because Billie is top tier great. She's my favorite, bar none. There's no one better than Billie Kay to me. That woman has taken every 30 seconds that she has got on television. You've probably seen clips all over Twitter, Kevin, of her minute segment that she has on SmackDown every week. And she has made herself more entertaining, more likable, just more relevant than a lot of people can say for a lot of their characters being broken up from a tag team. I just think she has really busted out, and she has a role that nobody else can fill. There's nobody that can do what Billie Kay does. In that sense, there's a lot of better workers than Billie Kay. There's better talkers than Billie Kay. But there's something that Billie Kay does that nobody else can do. I don't know what it is, but she has this charisma, and she has this appeal, and she has this niche and this shtick that I just cannot get past. I'm biased because I love Billie Kay because
Oh,
obvious
do
reasons.
you?
But there is something about her, and she's organically getting, I don't like using this term because it's such a Mark thing to say, but she's organically getting over. And a lot of people are behind her. Like a lot of people. I see so much. I don't see anyone that dislikes Billie Kay. I can't come across anyone because she's just she's funny. She's different to everybody else. She's even aesthetically, she's not just like cookie cutter, what like WWE hire. You know what I mean? Like she's different, and there's just something about her. But she has just taken every opportunity that she has got, whether it is literally 20 seconds on it behind a commentator's table saying something to Michael Cole. She's made it, and it's clippable, and it's all over Twitter. It's all over Twitter. That to me says you're doing something right when people are like, look at this. This is a great 20 seconds of television.
Yeah.
That's called taking your opportunity. And she's on so many segments. Like you just see her like pop up like here and here and here. And you're like, oh, Billie's there. And like, she's working with all these different people. And, you know, she's doing this thing with the Riot Squad, and she's just great. Now, here's where I get a
Yeah,
little
she's great.
people that I don't even like saying this. Peyton Royce on Raw has been put into a tag team with Lacey Evans. Now, I don't agree that she should be in a tag team. If they're going to split up the Iconics, then they shouldn't be in teams. However, wrestling is about taking opportunities. Wrestling is about turning chicken shit into chicken salad. That's what you're meant to do with any opportunity. Peyton has not impressed me once, any time since the Iconic split. Every opportunity she's had, she has just let slip through her fingers. I have seen her multiple times in matches just blatantly, I don't like saying this because I've never stepped into the ring, but she's blatantly blown spots. She has not really done anything different. She has not really done anything to stand out. And there's always going to be comparisons between Peyton and Billie. It is human nature to compare those two just because they were so tightly together. And if you're putting the two, Peyton has done way less interesting stuff than Billie. And I hate saying that because I think Peyton is fantastic. But Peyton just seems so bored.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I think you're right. The thing with Billie, and you mentioned it there, and I think it's a really big point. It's not something that comes easy for a lot of people. Billie Kay is organically funny. She has got like the knack. She got a knack for humor, And a lot of times, especially
Timing,
in
man.
wrestling,
Her comedic timing is so good. As
yeah,
somebody, I'm not saying I'm the funniest person here, but as someone who considers themselves kind of, people tell me that I'm funny, and they're like, you're very on, and like I'm trying to say it in a non-braggy way, but it just comes across cocky, so whatever. But you can sense those kind of things, and you're like, holy crap, her timing is so
yeah,
on.
it is.
You can't teach that kind of shit.
No, it's natural. You know, it's something that you just have or you don't, and she has it, and it's not something a lot of people have. And especially in wrestling, where a lot of humor does come across as forced sometimes, to have that sort of organic humor with everybody, not just with like your partner. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she walks up behind Michael Cole, she walks up behind the backstage interviewers, the Riot Squad. Like she's doing it with everybody, and it just translates so well. That's what's really, at least for me, putting her over the top right now, and it makes me want to see more of her, what she has to do. Hitting out resumes, she literally added like mosh pit expert to the last one.
Mosh pitting. She listens to Blink 182. That was
Yeah,
my
like,
favorite. I was like,
just
oh
those-
my god.
just those little things like that, you know, they seem like little things, but
The
they're not
nuances.
easy.
Yeah,
They're not
like
easy to
the
pull off, and she
in-betweens.
pulls them off so well.
Because wrestling to me, dude, is like this wrestling to me, there's a million great wrestlers. There's a million of people that can do all of these. Well, not a million, but you know, there's hundreds of people that can do a 450. There's hundreds of people that can do a nice super kick. There's hundreds of people that can do a nice DDT. There's not hundreds of people that can have a great character in the sense of like just different, because so many characters just fall into one. It's like you're that character, you're this character, you're this character, especially within the women. If you're just looking even the women of WWE, it's like they're a bitch or they're this or they're this. It's like so bland and there's not a lot of room to grow. I don't know how to describe Billie Kay's character. She's funny. She's wacky. She's silly. She's all of these different attributes that just kind of you kind of put them all together and you get Billie. And I just that's what I love about Billie Kay so much, is that she's so versatile in the stuff that she does. But you're right, she's so organically funny, and I think that's going to translate. I could see bigger things happening for Billie than for Peyton, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, the thing with Peyton is that, you know, when the Iconics were together, they complemented each other so well, because you had the character and you had the worker.
Mm-hmm.
But Peyton Royce, she's a good worker. She's not like an outstanding worker. You know, she's not like one of the best in the company, you know, that would, you know, you split her up from the character and she could just blossom. It doesn't work like that. She's, you know, she really, from what I've seen of some clips, and, you know, she has blown a couple of spots, and yeah, maybe she just doesn't have, you know, maybe, you know, some people really work well together and some people just can't, you know, some people have a hard time adjusting without that partner, especially when her and Billie were together for basically as long as they've been in the WWE. You know, it's tough. I'm not completely, you know, sold that she won't find her way. I think she could figure it out.
Yeah,
as it's been since they split them, I haven't been terribly impressed with Peyton Royce. I think she's been sort of exposed as someone who maybe wasn't ready for a shine as a single star, the way Billie, you know, may have been ready for some single stuff. So I don't know. Maybe that's why they put Peyton with Lacey Evans. I don't think it's really worked out too well. I don't know. It's weird, but like not weird in that good way, where you have that odd couple tag team that does seem to work with a lot of people. I don't know. I haven't really warmed up to it.
Yeah. And then kind of this stuff with Lacey, you know, Peyton and Lacey, I don't know, there's something there that could be good, but then, I mean, Lacey Evans is trying to get with Ric Flair now, because of Charlotte.
They're wilding out, man. It's weird. Ric Flair.
And Ric Flair was willing to trip his own daughter and screw her out of a match just to get a kiss from Lacey. Good for him. Good for him.
I just, you know, Ric Flair, man, you know, he doesn't have to keep doing this. He doesn't have to keep going back, but he's willing to help out and, you know, look like a crazy ass old man for the betterment of everybody. Hopefully, you know, hopefully that's the idea, is everyone uses this to get a little bit higher up on the food chain, especially Lacey. Lacey's someone.
Yeah, Lacey. They put so much stock into her, didn't they? And then it just kind of was too much.
Yeah, I mean, they brought her up, and immediately it was her and Becky, and after that, she sort of just, she moved over to SmackDown, did a little couple of things over there, but yeah, it really hasn't translated well for her from how hot she was when she came onto the scene to now.
No. So hopefully Lacey can that's who it should be helping in this story is Lacey, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, Billie is just someone that I just love. She has this great presence about her, and I just hope the same for Peyton. I really do, because I just think Peyton needs something that she can sink her teeth into, and I think she'll be fine, but they just don't have a lot of that.
To be fair to Peyton, Billie's gotten some good material. I think she's made it good. I'm not sure if it would be good with anybody else, but she's made it good. Peyton hasn't had that much to work with, I don't think, since they split. So maybe something will come her way and she'll really, really, fall in love with it and get going on, the way we thought she would when they split. I think a lot of people were sort of of the mindset that when Peyton and Billie split, Peyton would be the breakout star. It's been very far in the other direction so far, but that doesn't mean they can't both grow. Not every tag team has to have the Michaels and the Jannetty. Sometimes people split and everyone wins.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Well, if we keep talking, we're going to talk all day, so we can't do that.
Sure.
We've got to leave some stuff. We got to leave some stuff to sit. You know what I mean?
But leave them more.
Yeah, you got to leave more and more. Well, hopefully, we don't know. You just stay posted to my Twitter, and Kevin, of course, will retweet anything that I tag him in for it. But keep posted to when the next episode of Reverb. I'm sure I'll have it up in the next few weeks of when the next date is for the next Reverb. But it won't be until after the Rumble. I know that. So enjoy the Royal Rumble. I hope everyone gets what they want, which is impossible in wrestling. But you can at least enjoy the Rumble for what it is. All of that kind of good stuff. Our names for our Twitter is, of course, on the screen. You see it right now. That's the beauty of being here on YouTube, is that you can see our Twitters this entire time. I'll leave all of my links in the description as normal. What else have I got going on? I've got 5 Reasons Why that comes out every now and again that everybody seems to like. My Twitch is doing really well if you want to come hang out with me on Twitch. What else have I got? Are We Recording Yet is a thing that I just kind of randomly shoot the shit with different people on Twitter on. Amongst a multitude of other things that I'm doing. Of course, I have to talk about this for 1 second, is wRestling. Spencer's beautiful child that he's launched, and it's just gone like really fast. And I can kind of see the groundwork being laid for, I think, something really cool. I'm part of it in a small way. I do a show called Network and Chill. I go back and watch women's matches all throughout the WWE Network. A watch-along podcast. All you need is a WWE Network subscription, and you can watch wrestling with me. So come and hang out. It releases every single Thursday over on lovewrestling.ca. I'll leave the links to their Twitter in the description below as well, so you can kind of see for yourself. But Love Wrestling's pretty cool, which I'm sure you've seen lots about, Kevin. I'm sure you've seen it all over people's Twitter feeds and stuff like that. Spencer's a very hardworking dude.
He seems it. I see he's adding a lot of great people to the team too, yourself included. I see a lot of content on my Twitter, on my Facebook even. I was honored to get an early an early request to like the page. That made me feel special. But no, he does seem like he is busting his ass, and that's that's how you get ahead. That's how you get ahead in this crazy world we live in. Is you work hard, and we work hard and things happen for you. I'm glad things seem to be happening for him. Definitely a reader, definitely a listener.
Yeah, he's got a lot of cool stuff going on there. So make sure you check that out as well. Kevin, have you got anything you want to promote before we wrap things up today?
Not really. I'm it's sort of in the same way that I'm sort of easing back into wrestling. I'm sort of easing back into writing a little bit about, with the blog and everything. It's more, as my mind feels inspired. I don't have any plans right now, but I don't know, maybe like an hour from now, I'm like, oh shit, I should go, watch the 1998 Royal Rumble and write all about it. I don't know. You just got to keep it locked to my Twitter and see what happens. A lot of times I like to imbibe in some herbal refreshment and watch some old shows.
I've seen that on your Twitter. It's funny.
They hit so different when the thread. It's so funny sometimes.
It's good.
That's me, man.
But yeah, we will be back at some scheduled interval for more Reverb. So thank you for watching, everybody. It's so weird to wrap things up and be like, listen next week, but watch us next time whenever we're around. And of course, you can view the whole archive here on YouTube, which is really cool. So stay posted to what we're doing, and we love you very much. Stay safe, and goodbye, everybody.